Once a commuter gateway to London, people's working behaviours here in Sevenoaks have changed since COVID, further intensified by the strikes. Today, the normally packed car park stands almost empty. It's a different picture in the town's 3 working hubs. They didn't even exist in 2019, yet all say they've seen a recent increase in demand.
I think actually COVID is probably the main driving force. Because of that, people have realised that actually they gain back that time commuting. I'm afraid we do a happy dance when we hear there's a train strike because it absolutely boosts the levels of people who come and use us.
Before the pandemic, David had been commuting into London for 30 years, but for him, the rail strikes are the final disincentive to use the trains.
I mean, it was already pretty average service. It was becoming more expensive every year, so I guess the strikes are potentially a bit of a tipping point.
Do you think you'll ever go back to the commuting journey that you used to do before COVID?
No chance.
But down the road at the Help Suites work hub, accountant Leanne says while strikes have disrupted face-to-face contact with clients, rail is still her preferred method of transport.
We're just desperate to get back to normal. We just want to be able to use the trains. We'd rather not use our cars, and we try to use them as little as possible. Travelling into London for us is easy, the town that we're in, and that's how we want to travel. So as soon as we can get back to normal, we'll be happy to get back on the trains.
Demand for rail travel peaked at around 450 million journeys per quarter in the middle of 2019. But passenger numbers collapsed during the first COVID lockdown. Usage has since picked up, with the latest data showing 360 million journeys were made in Great Britain last summer. But that's still only 80% of the 2019 rail usage for the same time period. The big money earner, commuting, has taken a hit, with season tickets falling by 2/3 compared to pre-pandemic levels. The fall in rail use has already led to some services being reduced. On a typical working day in September 2019, the South Eastern network, which covers London, Kent and parts of East Sussex, would operate around 2,000 services. But according to the Department for Transport, since December that has fallen to just 1,700. The real question is, if passengers don't come back soon, will further services be cut? The Department for Transport has told us running the service over the past 2 years has cost the taxpayer £31 billion. Strikes aside, the money needed to run the network is said to be a fundamental issue which could derail the sector. Tony Miles has been tracking the industry for years.
What we've learned is that the Department for Transport has told the passenger operators that their budget for the next year from May 2023 will be the same as this year's budget. So effectively, with inflation, that's a 10% cut to their budget. So the operators have been told they need to come back with plans as to how they're going to manage their operations to meet the budget for the next year. And several of them have said to us that they are looking at, therefore, reducing the timetables, parking some trains up possibly and not using them anymore.
Tony also warns some underused lines, such as in rural areas, could be closed down.
If you're a user of a branch line, you need to be concerned that it could be you.
But it's the current strike action that remains the most pressing issue for many, particularly businesses reliant on trade from busy stations, like Key Lime Coffee, sitting in the shadow of Liverpool's Lime Street.
We've had no customers. We've sent staff home today. It's not fair. They're losing out, you know what I mean? I do support strikers, yeah, I understand that, you know what I mean? I support anybody, but I think the government, I know the government need to sort this out.
With reduced passenger numbers and struggling finances, many wonder how rail will recover. Or could the future be a smaller network with fewer services?